Hello, everybody. My name's Aidan Tolhurst, and today I'm going to go through the Religious Studies GCSE and give you some feedback give you some information about it, explain why it's a good choice for your learner at GCSE. I'll be talking about what religious studies is, what the course covers, and what a learner can expect from the course, amongst other things. So firstly, what is religious studies? Well, the GCSE course looks at the ways in which religions have sought to understand the universe and humanity's part in it. In religious studies at Honeywood, we focus on the two biggest world religions, Christianity and Islam, and essentially a large amount, about half of the course, it looks at what the core beliefs of both of those religions are, the teachings they follow, so mainly the Quran and the Bible, and the way these teachings and beliefs are reflected in the religious practices of Christians and Muslims. Also, the other half of the course is philosophy and ethics from a Christian perspective, and pretty much that covers how Christians have come to understand the ideas of right and wrong, and the way British Christianity has led to what we see as British values, how those are rooted in Christian beliefs and Christian ideals, how that links to our views about relationships and society as a whole, generally Christian ideas about right and wrong, such as form the basis of Christian laws, and also Christian attitudes towards war and peace. What it doesn't include is any religious instruction, in the sense that this is a secular GCSE. We will not be trying to encourage learners to follow one religion or another. We remain dispassionate and neutral. Okay, so skills that learners will develop in religious studies GCSE. First of all, learners will develop their curiosity about learning and understanding. This GCSE involves a lot of focus on other cultures, and also our own culture, British culture, and the way other people think, way people make decisions, and indeed how we have come to see certain ideas as just common sense. This helps learners to build up their cultural capital and understand some of the forces for change that are influencing the world currently. There is a big impact on communication in religious studies GCSE. This is fundamentally a written GCSE, and so learners will develop their ability to write critically, support their views and opinions with facts, be able to use references to sources of authority that prove them right, and also being able to analyze and evaluate the significance and influence of certain views. Learning about Christianity and Islam will hopefully enable learners to develop their tolerance, understanding other people's thought processes, and therefore developing spiritual and moral capital through the recognition of different approaches to ethics and morality. It will develop their awareness. We talk about ideas that are currently at work in the world, and so current affairs is regularly returned to in religious studies, as we see the ideas that we study undergoing constant change. And learners will also develop their ability to analyze and evaluate. In religious studies GCSE, learners will need to explain how and why religious teachings lead to beliefs and practices, and therefore they need to evaluate how different religious groups have come to different views when they have read the same religious texts. So being able to explain the differences of opinion is a key idea. The learner's experiences will include getting to grips with a lot of factual content. There's a lot of reading, there's a lot of taking notes, there's a lot of retaining information in RS GCSE. In order to support that, we ask learners to engage with information in a variety of ways to help them commit this to memory. They might be asked to make leaflets, short films, mind maps, or even doing creative writing based on the ideas that they have explored. They will also be given more exam-focused practice, lots of practice writing responses of the kind they will face in the exams, of which there are 3 questions, essentially 3-mark questions, which are very brief and just require learners to demonstrate their subject knowledge, 6-mark questions, which can include analysis as well, and 15-mark questions, which are quite detailed, developed essays, in which the main focus is analysis and evaluation. Each module that the learners go through will be assessed using a combination of each of these questions. So from the beginning of the course, they will be using GCSE skills and therefore developing their exam technique. This in the next year, we hope to implement field trips to local religious centres such as a church and a mosque, and hopefully there will be a field trip to a Christian pilgrimage site in Norfolk as well, but all that is very much up in the air at the moment, as I'm sure you can understand. So here's what the course covers. In cohort 9, learners will look at the following modules: relationships and families, which is where we explore Christian viewpoints about marriage, sexuality, equality, gender roles, and so on. We'll be looking in detail at Christian beliefs, teachings, and practices, what Christians believe, the teachings that those are based on, and the way that these teachings and beliefs are demonstrated and expressed through the way they practice being Christians. And finally, we'll look at the nature of reality in Christian understanding. This is the first part of the module that begins cohort 10, which is the Experiencing God module, where learners will look at the ideas of conversion, mysticism, miracles, charismatic worship, and explore some of the arguments made for and against the existence of God. We will then look at Christian views about peace and conflict. We'll be looking at how and why Christians might choose to support a war or support pacifism. And we'll also be looking in detail at Islamic beliefs, teachings, and practices, the things that Muslims believe, the teachings upon which those are based, and the way these beliefs are expressed in their religious lives. Finally, in cohort 11, the learners will study the dialogue within and between religious and non-religious groups module, and that includes things like how we see the influence of Christianity within British society, how Christians cooperate with within Christianity between different denominations, and how Christians cooperate with non-religious groups as well as other groups from other religions. Following that will cover the entire course. So after that, learners will be preparing for their November mocks, and following the November mocks, they will be given feedback on those, and that will inform the revision we do for the rest of the year, which will include regular practice questions and papers. In OCR Religious Studies GCSE, which is the course that we use, there are 2 exam papers. The first one is the Beliefs, Teachings and Practices of Christianity and Beliefs, Teachings and Practices of Islam. These are kind of separate exams, but the learners will tackle them at the same time. So they are basically 2 one-hour exams back to back. The second paper is Philosophy and Ethics from a Christian Perspective, and that will include the 4 modules that learners have studied: relationships and families, the existence of God, religion, peace and conflict, and dialogue between religious and non-religious groups. And that's a 2-hour exam with twice as many marks. So the religious beliefs, teachings and practices paper is the exact same weighting as the Philosophy and Ethics from a Christian Perspective. What this means is that actually 75% of the course has a Christian focus, and the other 25% has a focus on Islam. Learners will face mock exams on the content covered that year in cohort 9 and cohort 10, and will face full mocks in November of cohort 11, when they will review everything that they have learnt over the last 2.5 years. So who will enjoy this course? Well, there's a lot of debate, argument, discussion, conversation. Much of the philosophical and ethical content is subjective and requires learners to accept that there is no right answer. Indeed, what we're looking at is the ability to support opinions with references to authority and considering the analysis of people adopting certain opinions. In terms of the religious content, learners are required to compare the differences between denominational views. So again, they need to understand how different groups of Christians have reached different interpretations and evaluate the impact of these. People who are interested in current affairs will find this a stimulating GCSE, because it's very rare that a month goes by without something in Christianity or Islam changing. And so we very often get to look at how what we've learned links into what's happening within the world. It's a really interesting and exciting live subject, religious studies. People who are interested in religion as a cultural force in the world will also enjoy this, because we look at how religion has shaped communities and societies. We look at how Christianity has Middle Eastern society, and on an individual level, how religion affects the lives of believers and non-believers and their interactions. So sociologically, it's a fascinating subject as well. And finally, what's another important thing is people who enjoy and excel at written communication will enjoy this, because this is very much a written GCSE. It's all about writing essays or short answer questions. In fact, almost 50% of the total marks available are for extended essays, and a further 30% are for mini essays. So people who find writing enjoyable and find they do well at it will probably succeed at religious studies. Now, why choose religious studies? It's not one of the EBAC subjects, unfortunately, but it is, as you'll be able to see at the screen grab I've got at the bottom of this page, it is very much seen as an academically rigorous GCSE. So it's one of these GCSEs that is seen as being focused on writing, and so any course that wants learners to demonstrate their ability to write will find this will be a positive. It also shows a generally good awareness of the world around you, and this is valued more and more in college applications. Things like empathy and cultural awareness, an interest in the wider world, an interest in current affairs, and tolerance. These are really, really seen as positives when applying to colleges. Religious studies as a generally academically rigorous GCSE with a good overall set of skills that are required to excel at it, means that you can take it almost anywhere. It doesn't have to be something like going into theology or becoming a modern day philosopher. It develops the skills of literacy, oracy, argumentation. Research is going to be a factor. You need to be able to make reasoned arguments, apply logic, and it promotes open-mindedness and empathy, and therefore those soft skills will mean that you can take them anywhere. They're really transferable across a very wide range of careers. So some possible occupations that use these skill sets include lawyers, doctors, psychologists, police detectives, forensic investigators, public services, civil services, management, teaching, social work, youth work, childcare, archaeology, fine arts, museum work, conservation, natural history, and architecture. If you have any more questions about GCSE RS, then please do email me at atolhurst@honeywoodschool.com, and I will endeavour to answer your questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening.